So let me try to explain what we're going to do the next couple of lessons. So step one is right now we have a logged in user, and I actually know from the authentication part of Firebase that this is the user right here. So let me try and jump into authenticated users, and you'll see him right here, and then I know exactly what his unique identifier is. Now we can use this unique identifier now to kind of create a profile or extra user information inside the database. So we can kind of bind the logged in user up with what's actually inside the Firestore database right here. Now notice I'm picking the Firestore database. There's also a real-time database which is their older version of a database, and this is the new one which is still in beta, but I'm still picking that one. But now look at this database right here. We need to kind of explain now that when I'm logged in, I want to grab other information about this user, and we can do that by actually adding in here a new collection. A collection is kind of a list of users, so we're going to make a users collection right here. Let me just try and say next. And then it kind of says, do you want to create your first document for that users collection? And yes, I want to. Now notice instead of just adding an ID automatically, I'd actually paste in the ID that I just got from the authenticated user, right? So now I have the ID of this specific user right here. And that's kind of the guy that I want to add some more information about in the database. So what I'm doing here is I'm adding that, and then I can start adding information about this guy. Now, of course, this is not something you'll do manually like I'm doing now. This is something we'll let the code handle for us in the next lesson. But I just want to give you guys an overview about what we're going to do with the code. So I'm going to call this guy Bob, and I'm going to add another username and another field, and that's going to be a first name, and that's going to be Bob with a capitalized B, and I could keep going with all the properties that we want in our user. I'll then press save, and now it creates for me a user that is uniquely identified by the exact same ID as the user that's logged in right now, right? That's pretty powerful. So that means that when I'm logging in the future, I can log in and get, using that user ID from the actual user who is logged in right now, I can actually use that ID to get the extra information from the database. So that means that now since I'm logged in, I can go and say, for all users, get me a specific user with this ID, and then I know that that user that's logged in has a first name of Bob, a username of Bob, and then whatever else I wanted to put in here. He has this list of albums, he has these roles, he has blah, blah, blah. I can keep going with fields for this specific user right here. That's powerful stuff. And that's what we're going to do in the next couple of lessons. We're going to make the code so that we'll get this setup automatically built into our system. So that whenever I create a new user, he'll create only the authenticated user, like you're looking at right here. That's all when I'm creating a new user, that's all he's getting. But when he wants to later, he can go into the profile page, add more information about himself, press save, and then I'll add an extra set of information inside the database that I can use later, just specifically explaining who this user is. And I could also start having things like, if I want to invalidate this user, I could do that in here as well, and I can use the database for a lot of crazy things. But that's the goal. That's what we want to do, right? So let's get that started in the next lesson. See you next time. Have fun.